Hey there, it's great to see you. I'm excited to talk to you about how we can best partner with parents because I believe we have great opportunity in this area. So, I've been a parent for almost 22 years now, and I'm incredibly grateful for the many small group leaders my children have had here at Grace. So, two of my children have been completely through our student ministry program from 5th through 12th grade. And then next year, I will have a son in Fusion, a daughter in 24/7, a son in Forge, a husband serving in Fusion. My high school Forge student will be serving in Fusion, and I'll be in Fusion in 24/7. So as a family, we love student ministry. We are all in, and we are committed to helping students pursue God and connect with the church and engage the world. So I'm really glad that you're here tonight, just considering this as an area to serve and love Jesus and give your life away. So when my oldest child started Fusion about 12 years ago, I was so relieved that she could walk to program independently. She could check herself in, and I had one less child to worry about because I was getting someone in a nursery class and a preschool class and other elementary classes. So for me, it was really helpful. But the downside was that I never had any forced face-to-face contact with her leaders. So part of that's on me. I should have reached out to them and introduced myself and initiated that. But when you check a child into the children's building, you hand them a slip of paper, you have a little bit of interaction there. So I did not have that with her Fusion leaders. And although she had great leaders, they were instrumental in her spiritual formation. She learned some great personal Bible study habits and skills that have helped her tremendously. But there wasn't any kind of partnership or any connection with them. And to their defense and credit, partnering was not even part of Grace lingo at that time. And Fusion was new, and we were new to Grace and kind of settling in. And I think everybody was trying to figure all of that out at that time. So there were some great benefits, but I really missed that partnering with them. So in my opinion, when you are connected to a student, you should in some capacity be tethered to the family. And that doesn't mean that you are responsible for caring entirely for that family, but there should be definitely a connection there because you might be the only personal contact that they have at all with Grace Church. We have parents that are on one end of the spectrum or the other. We have some parents who are really involved. They know and put into practice our core values. And some parents have never stepped foot on our campus at all because their children are coming with friends. And sometimes parents will slip in to service in the back and may slip out before it ends. So they just see a face on a screen or someone on stage, but they don't have anyone that they are personally connected with. And that can be you as their child's small group leader. So we want to be able to reach all of the parents, no matter where they land on that spectrum. And I would definitely say that we are responsible for initiating that relationship and to make the first move toward parents, because really they are probably, if you feel uncomfortable in that, they're probably feeling even more uncomfortable. And it's really quite easy. So tonight, I just wanted to share some ideas with you and show you that it can be pretty easy. So when my husband and I started volunteering in student ministry about 9 years ago, I was committed to partnering with parents. So when I received my roster of 5th grade girls, one of the first things that I did was just send out a group email to the parents, and I introduced myself, told them that we had recently moved from Florida, and just put some other random information in there and let them know that I was eager to spend time with their daughters and that I wanted to keep the lines of communication open. And I wanted to make sure that they had my contact information and knew how to reach me. I actually think a group email at the beginning is great, but I would also encourage you to call all the parents at the beginning of the year and introduce yourself. And honestly, one of the greatest benefits for me, I have made so many great friends through meeting parents of the students who have been in my group, and I wasn't expecting that, but it's been a great bonus. As a leader, look for ways to meet parents face to face. And I know this was mentioned earlier, but really utilize that time on the front and back end of program. because there is great opportunity there. For Fusion students, you could even ask the parents, say, hey, I will be there 15 minutes before program. I would love to meet you. Please come and have some pretzels and popcorn with me. Maybe bring some snacks. I know when Fusion was meeting on Sunday morning, sometimes I would have snacks after, like muffins or something, where the parents could come and meet and get to know each other. So not only do you get to know them when you have kind of a gathering of parents, but you also can help connect parents with each other. Last week, I had a new student in Fusion, and I knew that her dad was from Ohio, and I have another girl in our group, and they moved here from Ohio a year ago. So when I saw them walking toward us, I was able to connect those two families together, and they talked for about 20 minutes last Sunday morning. So I love that, when you have things that you know about families and you can help them form relationships with each other. I think that's awesome. For 24/7 and Forge, you could ask parents to visit during that pre-program time. Some of them may be going to the 5 o'clock service, and they're here anyway. It'll be a little late on Sunday evening after program, I think, for 24/7 and Forge to try to connect with parents then. It's a little trickier with our older students who drive, but you could invite the moms or dads out for coffee or breakfast one morning if you're able to do that. And even if you only have a few people show up, I still think it's a win, and it shows them that you want to partner with them, that you are intentional about coming alongside them. For younger students who do ride with their parents, I know this has been talked about already, but make it a point to walk out with a different student each week. Walk them all the way to their car. Say hello. Make sure parents know who you are. Let them know how much you enjoy having their child in your group. And also look for ways to find them at church. Find out, what service they attend, and hopefully that might coincide with the one you attend, and seek them out. Include parents in some outside of program activities. So Catherine mentioned some great ideas, and sometimes you can ask parents to join along in that. A mother-daughter hike or a father-son camp out, a nature walk at Conisty Park. You can go out for a meal or coffee or ice cream as a group and invite parents to join you. And a lot of times what might happen there is that students might sit together and parents might sit together, and that's still great because the parents, again, are connecting. Invite parents to help with a serving activity. They might even want to plan a service project. A lot of our parents are involved in other charities and organizations, and if a small group can come along and support them where they're involved, I think that's wonderful. Ask parents to plan an outing or host an event. So in 24/7, we have 24/7 in homes once each semester. So we need parents to open up their homes and possibly even feed students. And in Forge, this happens monthly. And if you're there in a home, really spend time getting to know the parents. Ask how you can help with food preparation or setup or cleanup after. But I've really enjoyed getting to know parents, just spending time with our different groups when we have an opportunity to be in homes with them. And if parents plan or host an event, write them a handwritten thank you note. Let them know how much you appreciate them opening up their home or spending time planning something. And even when you have group events outside of program where parents would not be involved, make a point, again, to talk with parents at drop-off and pick up if they are driving students, because I think a 5-minute conversation can go a really, really long way. Instead of trying to make another time where you have to meet them, really utilizing those minutes before and after. You could create a questionnaire to find out more about the families. You could ask some questions about what their family likes to do. Do they like to do outdoor things? Do they like movies or game nights? Does the child have siblings? And if so, what are the ages? How long has the family lived in Greenville? And if they just moved from somewhere else, where did they come from? Where did they live before moving here? How long has their family attended Grace, and what service do they attend? And you might want to find out if the parents are serving anywhere. And if they're not, you could offer to help them get connected, and we can certainly help you do that. You might want to ask the parents some interests that their child has, and sometimes that helps you in conversation with students. I know last year I had a girl in my 5th grade group, and she loved wolves. So I would try to find wolf jokes and wolf pictures and things. She was very quiet, so anything that I could do to initiate a conversation with her. A lot of younger girls like horses and puppies, and but you can find out if they like video games or music or animals or art, whatever it is. But information from parents can help you engage students. You'd want to find out if their son or daughter has any allergies, so that when you're planning events and someone might be dairy-free or gluten-free, you can make sure you have options for them. You could ask parents if they're interested in hosting or planning a small group event or outing. Some parents aren't able to commit to leading a small group, but they can certainly support you in your leadership role. And just anything else that we might want to know about their son or daughter. And I know we've talked about this too, but asking the parents when recitals and games and plays and concerts and other activities where students are involved, when those are happening, so that you might be able to attend those. But one of the best ways you can partner with parents, I think, is through a weekly email. And you can recap the teaching, and what I love about this is that you have an opportunity to share the gospel every single week, because we are sharing the gospel in student ministry every single week. So you can put that in an email to parents, and you can let them know the text that we used. There are some examples of emails on your table. There are a couple different sheets, front and back. You're welcome to take some of those home. Those are from middle school girl groups. The Forge groups will look a little bit different. We can send you some of those examples. But you can see that some of the things communicated are how much leaders care. They communicate biblical truth, excitement, and eagerness to spend time with the students. It can also let parents know how much you are investing in their child. And it can, this is my favorite, I think, it can set parents up for great follow-up conversations at home. You can let them know questions that were asked and maybe suggest some other questions to ask their students. I love when leaders attach pictures, whether it's from small group or a silly game or from a retreat. I think that's great. Ask how to pray for a student. And I think this gives parents an opportunity to be more open with you, to be authentic and vulnerable. And if they do share something with you, absolutely follow up with them and circle back and let them know that you are praying for them, and ask how things are going. So I feel like when you're communicating consistently, it gives you a window into other conversations that you might need to have with parents. And sometimes you might need to have some difficult conversations and let a parent know that maybe a student was disrespectful or disruptive during big group or even in small group. But because you have shown that you care about their student through your actions and your words, I feel like they're able to receive that because they know that you care. Because it is hard to say some of those things, but you wouldn't be saying them if you weren't concerned about helping them grow and develop. And this year we had some students in a group who were struggling to get along with each other, and the parents were involved and the leaders were involved. And at one point the leader gave some advice, and one of the parents didn't initially agree with that advice, but she told me, she said, I knew that this leader had spent 2 years with my daughter, and she loved my daughter, and so I was willing to heed her advice. And so that was really neat, that she could see, like, that's not the way I approached it, but I'm going to trust here. And I thought that was a big win. And the parent knew that the leader was for her daughter and for her family and ultimately for the kingdom. Sometimes students will confide in leaders and share things that they have not yet discussed with their parents. And we do not make any promises to students that we hold that information, because we're accountable to Jesus. And sometimes the parents do need to be involved, and sometimes it needs to even go beyond parents and report it to someone else. So we should always encourage students to initiate necessary conversations with parents. But students need to know that we will step in and push them to do that, that we might have to step in if they aren't following through on that. Sometimes professional care is needed, and as a church, we have resources available to students, and Schofield and Catherine and Daniel and I can certainly work with you and help set that up, because we are here to provide support for you. So don't feel like that's all on you to figure that out and assess that. Sometimes it's helpful to arrange a meeting with a student, parent, small group leader, and even a staff member to assess potential ways that we can partner with our families. So I'm going to briefly share some of the issues that our students here at Grace are facing in all 3 areas of student ministry. anxiety and depression, self-harm, gender identity, sexual orientation, sexual activity, pornography, bullying, rejection and abandonment, self-worth, divorce, navigating social media, wrestling with their faith. Is God real? And why should I invest in my own faith? And why do bad things happen to good people? Dating, maybe asking questions if they should date and how to do that appropriately. Drug and alcohol use and abuse, death, loss of someone they care about, abuse of technology. And here, our hope would be that we can help parents have some healthy conversations at home and encourage some boundaries. So hopefully this list will not scare you away, but help you realize just how much our students need us to point them to Jesus. And students are so different. I asked a group of students the other night, they were sitting together and they had their phones out, and I just asked them, I said, so what are your rules at home? I'm always just trying to get ideas, because I'm still parenting. And it was interesting because one girl said, well, I can have my phone whenever I want. I don't have any restrictions. Another girl said, well, I just got my phone back. I haven't had it for 3 weeks. And she was a little disgruntled about that. And another one said that she could have it certain hours and had to be in a certain place at night. So we have a lot of just different ways people are parenting. And it's not our job to point out the right and wrong, but maybe start conversations and help parents because they do have a lot of questions. And for me, I was from a generation that did not have technology, so I didn't grow up with any type of guidelines at all. So I know parents are trying to figure this out as they go along. And regarding technology, I would encourage you to be sensitive to students who do not have devices that they can use for calling and texting. And it's a little tricky in middle school. Usually by high school, most students have phones, but in middle school, you'll see some do and some don't. And so when you might set up a group text with students, for any student who doesn't have a device, you can say, hey, I'd love to put your parent, if your parent's okay with that, I'd love to put them on a group text. But on a more positive note, reach out to parents and let them know how you see their child growing spiritually. Let them know maybe how much you appreciated a student spending some extra time cleaning a cabin at the retreat, or how they welcomed a new student, or how they showed kindness to someone else in the small group. And constantly look for positive things to share, because if you look for the good, you will definitely find it. And parents sometimes just need to know that sometimes someone else is for them, because parenting is tough, and we can provide essential encouragement and support. So in closing, I was just thinking about how my husband encourages me. He is a runner, and I am not, but I try a little bit so that I can keep up with him and so that I'm his running mate of choice. And we were earlier this week on a trail, and I did not want to keep going. But he would say, just remind me of things on the hills, like, hey, pick your knees up, or on the downhill, lengthen your stride, or control your breathing. And every mile that we would check off, he would say, bam, that's another mile. So I would wait for those words. And so I just thought about how his encouragement and his instruction and his motivating words compelled me to keep going. So I would just encourage you to do that with parents, just to let them know that you are for them and that you are for their student and you are for Jesus. So thank you for considering student ministry as an area to serve